Hey, we interrupt this regularly scheduled hiatus for video. And so here's a video.
Here is a video.
Jonathan and I just finished seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And now we're going to talk about it.
Yes, we are.
I think for this video, we're going to try and break it up into like 3 different sections. We're going to talk about just the movie in general, then have a bit of a more spoiler-filled talk, and then finish out with some more of just like Tarantino and this film and other films of Tarantino and just that sort of thing. That's what I think. So
Sounds great.
Let's get to it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the 9th film by Quentin Tarantino. What were your initial, I guess, impressions of the movie finishing?
I thought it was going to be like a slice of life film. And I think
It was like...
Well, don't put words in my mouth.
Okay.
All right. So I am still convinced that it's a slice of life film, which is different for him.
Right.
It's super different.
Literally maybe 20 minutes into the movie, the thought popped in my head of like, this is kind of like American Graffiti. And then for the entire run line through the film, this is sort of like American Graffiti was sort of in my head. And then the ending happened and, you know, that kind of broke it a little bit. But in general, the whole time watching, it was like, this is like American Graffiti, but in Hollywood.
Right.
That's how it felt. So I haven't seen American Graffiti since I was like in high school, so this is kind of drudging up old memories of it.
So he normally picks a period and then has a story, but this felt more like a slice of life because it was the story and the period were he wasn't creating an alternate history in the same sense that he normally does.
Right.
Which was fun and it was more enjoyable to me than the revenge movies he makes on a regular basis.
Well, this very much focused on, I honestly don't remember the character's name, DiCaprio's character and him kind of going on a more internal character mental sort of arc
Rick Dalton,
thank you. It was very much of an internal character arc rather than, you know, an external plot, things are happening kind of story.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was bookended and then with a theme, and yeah, I enjoyed it, but it was weird. It felt weird because it felt weird because of how normal it was.
Slice of life film.
Yeah.
Well, slice of life films are slower typically because you're just looking at pieces of a person's life. However, the thing that
I liked the slow pace because of so many things seem not that. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah, we had to re-edit our camera there. You were saying something about
slice of life films normally are slower. They have a rhythm to them. You're looking at small pieces within a character's story. You had mentioned just a moment ago about how it's kind of a meta look at his life, which is fun. And I had briefly mentioned that this movie felt like it was going to be just very much a slice of life piece, as opposed to Tarantino's other work, which is like take a not a genre, but a piece of history or a historical time period, or just that's the word,
or like with Kill Bill, just a setting.
Yep.
Or yeah.
And then put your characters and then your plot inside of it. Whereas this felt like one of his first. I have not seen everything he's ever done.
I haven't either. I've only seen 7 of his 9 films.
I think I've seen 4 or 5. This would be 6, 5 or 6 now. Normally, well, let me say this. It feels like this is his first film where it feels like a properly mixed smoothie.
We can get more into this later. There was something about it that seemed similar to his first film, Reservoir Dogs. There was something about it that seemed very similar to that. But yeah, this is the most unlike Tarantino of Tarantino films.
Right.
It definitely is a Tarantino film, though.
Yes.
So, like, I mean, thoughts and recommendations on that. If you like Tarantino films, you're going to see it anyway. So, I mean, to say if you like Tarantino films, you'll like it is, I mean, you're going to see it regardless if you like his stuff. So.
Right, but don't come in with no expectations. Come in with the fact that he's a director and he's telling a story and he wants to try new things, like people do with their albums, right? They make their first album, people fall in love with the band, and then they make the second album, and people are like, what happened to the band?
Right, well, then the successful bands, they do this like, oh, the second one's a copy of the first, and the third one needs to be a big breakout thing, or the band's dead. Is just how
Give or take.
Is how it works.
So it's definitely different for who he has been as a director, but I think it's good for him. I think it's really good to try something new. It's like actors.
If he's only doing 10 films, as he said many times, I really hope his 10th one's a sci-fi, or that he decides to do more than 10. But
yeah, I don't think. I mean, I don't know what kind of a character what kind of character he has as a person. But so Kristopher and I, for a brief recap, we have a background in filmmaking. We've both made a variety of films, commercial and narrative. And even now, we occasionally feel the draw of it'd be kind of nice to get back on a set. You know?
I definitely had that feeling. But before we get into spoilery territories of it, I guess, see it if you like Tarantino films. If you want to see something not like any other films that are widely out there, I'd say recommend it in that, of it just being different.
Yeah. I
enjoyed it. I will say I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. One thing I will say is that the way that the story's told, he takes some risks with the narration because there's a narrator at the beginning a little bit. There's some weird, the narrator at the beginning. It's not at the very beginning, but in the first 15 to 25% of the movie, there's a voiceover.
Oh, okay.
And they're telling things. They're breaking the fourth wall and telling you about.
All right. Well, at this point, we're now moving straight into spoiler territory. So we are going to spoil everything Tarantino this movie in. Yes.
It was a good film. You should check it out. There are spoilers to follow.
Yeah.
Check it out. I never really consider the openers spoilers, but that's just me. That's fine.
Well, I remember the intro now of the movie. It had a voiceover, but that's because it was being a TV commercial. That's the voiceover I remember from the beginning. Not a narrator voiceover, but
I'm talking about the part where they're in the bar. And he's like, oh yeah, my car's in the shop. And then it cuts from the scene with Al Pacino, and it goes, that's a lie.
Put these on so you're not crying in front of the Mexicans.
It's just hard, though. It's just hard.
Was that a voiceover, or was that a, sorry, I thought that was a voiceover, not a narrator.
It's a voiceover, but they're still narrating the film because they're talking about the characters.
Okay.
So
I thought it was a character's inner voice.
No, because he was talking in third person. He's like,
okay,
that's a lie. He got pulled over too many times for drunk driving, which is why this guy now drives him around.
I see. You're right.
That narrator
Yep, you're right. Yep.
tells us about the story in, I want to say, 5 instances or less. I didn't count them, but throughout the whole film.
They did it once at the beginning, and then they had all the rest kind of at their transition period at their 6 months later to catch us up with what's happening.
Yeah, it jumps time frame, which is fine. There's a jump cut segment.
Yeah, there's quite a few scenes that do jump cuts that...
Weird narration moments.
Yeah.
Which, they didn't take me out of the film. It was just like, oh, hey, you haven't done this yet in the film, and we're halfway through.
When he's on the set, and then the lead comes up to him, there's a couple jump cuts when they have that conversation. I'm just like, huh? That was really strange.
So I think it fits and it works because what he's trying to do... Correct me if I'm wrong, Tarantino. Correct me if I'm wrong. Interact with our video. Great. Is he's trying to show you the types of conversations you have to have on set with other actors where they want to talk business, they want to talk all this stuff, and he wanted to show that this guy's been there for a minute and just shooting the stuff, and it's just like, no, we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the main part of
realized something.
Main part of the conversation.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm still talking.
Yep.
All right,
Go,
I'm done
keep
talking.
going.
I'm talking.
No.
I just
So-
interrupting you at this point.
In the middle of the film, they're shooting a scene inside of a saloon, and the interior, it struck me as like, I've seen the interior of this in another movie before. Why can't I think of it? I think it's in the Book of Eli. I could be wrong, but I think that saloon interior they
I mean, it
used
kinda
in the
looked
Book
familiar.
of Eli. I could be wrong, but I just knew it looked familiar, and I have seen that inside, that room. I've seen that room in another movie.
Yeah, it
And
did
I
look
know
familiar.
that, but I don't know-
think that this spoiler section could be called "I Could Be Wrong" because we both said it a variety of times at this point.
Yeah.
So I could be wrong.
I could be wrong.
But
And okay, after that scene when he's in his trailer and he's just like, and he's like, you screw up that line, you screw up, you miss any more lines, we're gonna go in your pool and blow your brains out and guts everywhere, sort of thing. Like, I've been there. I've not been there, but I've been there.
you've been close.
I know what it's like to just like yell and scream and like, you know what? It. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
blow my brains out.
Well,
and then you just don't.
I wondered if he was gonna follow through with it because moments before he's like, I'm never drinking alcohol again, and then it jump cuts to him taking a sip.
Why'd you have to take 8 drinks? No, you couldn't stop at 3 or 4. You had to have 8.
8 whiskey sours.
That's what it was. Whiskey sours.
Yeah, it's just like, wow.
I would think I would be done it too, because I'm a lightweight.
Look, being a lightweight's great.
It is.
Don't let
It's
anybody
cheap.
shame you for being a lightweight. It's cheap.
It's a cheap night out.
You're a cheap date for yourself or others. It's great.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. You don't have to drink people under the table. Like myself. It's fine.
Yeah. So those two things just, I remember standing out to me, but oh gosh, something else. Anytime, because it's a Quentin Tarantino film, just Quentin Tarantino and bare feet, I always feel uncomfortable because Tarantino has a foot fetish. And just so anytime I see bare feet on a Tarantino film, I just always feel uncomfortable.
I didn't know he had a foot fetish.
Right. And so with Margot Robbie's feet just like in our face, just like, I don't think I'd be bothered if this wasn't a Tarantino film. But because it's a Tarantino film, I think it bothers me.
Sure. The hippie girls made sense with the feet. That fits the character. The actress at the movie theater.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Like, I mean, I know
it
a lot of
made-
women who
no,
are
it
like kind of
Made
free
sense.
spirited.
Kick off the cowboy boots and relax. It makes sense. It's
No.
just
I didn't know he had a foot fetish.
it was distracting because I knew that.
Well, that would be distracting if you knew that. Yeah.
I think pretty much everything but Reservoir Dogs. I think
I don't
showcases
remember it
bare feet.
in Inglourious Bastards. I don't remember
because
it.
they make a big point about put your foot on my lap so I can put the shoe on.
Okay.
So even that, it's just like there's things about bare feet in Tarantino films. But anyway,
Weird.
yeah, you mentioned the hippie girls. That whole sequence with Brad Pitt and hippie girls, I was just like waiting for something to happen,
Right.
and nothing did. And it's just like
It built tension well.
Yeah.
It did a good job of building
it wasn't-
tension.
when nothing happened, it wasn't disappointing release. It wasn't like a.
Right, because you still got
It's still-
him punching that kid in the face.
Oh yeah, well even the old guy who played the
Owner
he-
of the ranch.
yeah, the guy that played he played what's his
George.
face? George, but I mean, he in Hateful Eight he
Never saw it.
was the Confederate general in the Hateful Eight. So seeing him again was interesting.
I like that we got Brad Pitt's character to he had some redemption to him when the hippie girl gets in his car, Pussycat, and he's
Oh
like,
yeah, it's just like
how old are you?
he's like I'm not going to jail. 'Cause-
Yeah.
yeah.
Because at that point, we've already been introduced to the fact that he murdered his wife, supposedly. Mm-hmm. We never
got
got a
away with it.
confirmation from that in the flashbacks,
Right.
but that's the talk around Hollywood. And honestly, I think that is one of the nice things, which is why I like this, because partially you and I are both filmmakers, and though we weren't around in the 60s, 70s, we still know that, like, whatever community of film you're in, there's talk. Mm-hmm. So once something gets out, once something goes, that's it.
How did you feel about the Bruce Lee fight? that scuffle? I had mixed feelings about that.
Well, I used to do martial arts, and so I thought it was a little bit ridiculous.
Yep.
I don't recall in any of the stuff that I know about Bruce Lee, though I'm not an expert. I don't remember him having a temper. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, this is a movie. This is a slice film, so he could have a temper on the lot. I don't know.
That was Green Hornet, yeah.
So
you mentioned flashbacks earlier. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things where I didn't realize it was a flashback. Because it was introduced by him on the roof. It's like, oh yeah, you're not going to be able to be on this because it's got the guy with Green Hornet running the stunt people. And then it goes in through all of that, and I didn't realize it was a flashback until it was over, and he's back on the roof, and he's like, yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
He's like, well, and that's that whole sequence was a flashback.
He has these narrative tools that he uses throughout. He doesn't introduce them, he just uses them. Yeah. Boom, uses it. Boom, uses it. And so that was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. I could see from if you don't have a background in film like you and I do, that it might be jarring.
Right. That's what... It was interesting because when they were going through the Hollywood lot, you saw all of the equipment on set. It's one of the things that was just crossing my mind of like, it makes me wonder how they do that because there's like, obviously there's the like really meticulous way of like, okay, these are the hero film equipment. This is the film equipment. And then, but there's also that bit of a play with like, yeah, you can just leave stuff out. It doesn't matter. It works.
It's a period piece in slice of life film, so they have to use specific equipment. Speaking of which, absolutely loved all the wide shots.
Yeah.
And the driving, he didn't skimp. He made sure that all the cars were there. A lot of highway scenes.
Oh, yeah.
The night shots were great.
And all of the stuff throughout the city, when they're going up and down the streets in the city, which made up a surprisingly large part of the movie, which is why I thought American Graffiti.
Okay.
So many times. But when they're doing the scenes too, about how they're like the scenes on the set and they're cutting as if like we're in it. And it's like, it took like 2 or 3 cuts where it's like, oh, we're in the movie.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
he
switches. I loved it when he stops, like, line. And then you hear the PA off set just scream it in.
He changes our point of view on a regular basis, which was fun, and it didn't pull me out of the film.
Yeah.
It's just fluid, which is nice. Which, honestly, I think... And again, I haven't seen all of his films, but I think this is his best piece. Mostly because I feel like it reveals him actually sort of becoming his best director self.
So, in that sense, I might agree. I don't know if it's his best, but I think this might be my new favorite.
What do you think his best is?
Well... First, I want to say, I think we should go through which of his films we have seen. So, like, broaden it out a bit more into just Tarantino in general here. So the films I have seen of his were Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill. I have not seen...
Are you kind of Kill Bill those two?
No. Kill Bill's one. I have not seen Death Proof or Jackie Brown. I've not seen either of those. Which means the next ones I've seen were Inglourious Bastards, Django, Hateful Eight, and then now Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So that's 7 that I've seen.
That looks like 8.
5, 6, 7.
Oh, you didn't use your thumb on the front end?
No.
Okay.
They watched me count.
Well, you'll review it later. So I've seen 6 then, counting this one.
Which ones haven't you seen?
Death Proof, whatever the one...
Jackie Brown,
and then Hateful Eight.
Okay.
I haven't seen those 3.
All right. So, before seeing this, my favorite film of his was Inglourious Bastards, but even though that has been my favorite, I think his best might have been Django. And it's hard for me to necessarily explain why, but just something about the story arc and the character Django goes through is very Joseph Campbell with a twist kind of thing.
Sure.
Compared to all of his other films. And I think something about seeing that played out made it an enjoyable thing. I still think before having seen this one, Inglourious Basterds was my favorite, but that's because that whole history era is something that I'm curious about and have been since I was like 8 because of Wolfenstein and computer games.
Right.
But
Sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch this one a few more times, I think, because I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than any of his others first time viewing it. I'm curious how enjoyable I'd find at other viewings.
Yeah, I think because he tried new things, the acting was still good. He didn't give us what we wanted with his moments of tension. He kind of toyed with us. Like, he changed the perspective that we got to view from. Like, I really think that this is his most intricate piece. And it's tied all of the stuff he's learned from all the other films together into one, as opposed to just being a remake of a film, which is how I feel about most of the stuff he's done. Because most of the stuff, here's my opinion, most people aren't going to like it. I don't care. Tarantino is he just makes revenge films. Most of what he's done is revenge films. This is not a revenge film.
Right.
There's a moment of revenge, but that's happenstance in the middle of the characters at the end with the hippies. It's happenstance, though, because it's not, the whole film's not based on that. And none of the characters, that's why I think this is his best piece, because he stopped spending time in this main theme of revenge.
Best or not, it is the most different.
Best it is. We've settled it. The audience has settled it. I've settled it. It's settled. Put a foot on it.
All right, so, no, I'm just like, the arcs with Brad Pitt and DiCaprio, I liked something like DiCaprio's story, just whole thing wrapped up nicely, of where you see in the beginning of like, oh, I've lived here for how long, and I've finally just seen my neighbors go by, and then at the end he finally meets them and goes in, and obviously the Roman Polanski's in the UK shooting a film, but he meets his wife and their friends and stuff.
Yep.
And so, that whole thing worked out well, but Brad Pitt, I don't even know what to say. That whole, everything that he went through in that movie, he's like, I forgot the character's name, as DiCaprio says, as Cliff says, no, Cliff is Brad Pitt's character.
Yeah, who are you?
Who's Leonardo DiCaprio's character's name?
Rick.
As Rick said. Rick Dalton, as he taps on the back of the ambulance, like, you are a great friend or something. It's like, I try. It's just, That also reminds me of that one other line, is like, better than brothers, but less than a wife or something.
Yeah. More than brothers, but less than a wife.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, yep, I know that feeling.
Yeah. It's a good film. You should check it out. This should be an opener. It was a good film. You should check it out. There are spoilers to follow.
Yeah.
Check it out, because we're going to talk about everything in the plot. Not intricately, but we're going to cover main plot points that we're going to
talk about a lot of things.
If you don't see the film, then this will ruin it for you.
Yeah. I'm also probably going to leave this on the end. So I'll like edit it out and put it on the front, and then leave it on the end too.
Oh, okay.
So,
do you have anything else to say? And then
I just really enjoyed it in ways that it's hard to describe. It's just different from, not even just different from Tarantino, but different from other films that are out.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. When's the last time that a slice of life film came out? I can't remember. It's been a while.
If they do come out, I don't hear about them. So.
Yeah. Because slice of life films normally don't get word of mouth press.
Yeah.
They just don't. Because they don't have big action scenes, and they're just about life. They're about moments in people's lives. They're the appetizer to a main course that is the narrative that we walk through as humans. It's just like, there are some mundane days, and here are some moments in those days.
I mean, that's it. This is it for me. I don't think I have much else to add, so whatever you got.
We miss you guys. It's we're still trying to find. We talk about shooting little videos for you guys all the time. It just schedules still haven't lined up, and so we try to carve out some time here and there to do that, which is why these are sporadic and we're not committing to hey, you'll get one every week, even though we'd like to.
Yeah, regards to all of that housekeeping stuff, the update is there is no update, really. Well, things will happen when they happen.
But we're trying. Life is a journey, not a destination, as they say.
It's both.
They meaning Ralph Waldo Emerson and everyone who decides to quote him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is the first Tarantino film in a decade that didn't have the word. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment. Tell us what you thought about the film. And all of that stuff. Do what you want. Don't listen to us.
No, listen to me.
Oh, you can listen to him.
Listen to me.
You
are listening to me because you're here.